Hey, everybody, this is Amazing Fantasy Football, and the Mr. Frog to my Mr. Badger? Is that a Toad and the Badger sort of reference? I'm Josh, and that guy over there is
Chris.
and Chris, he always is. Chris, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing amazing. It's a fun-filled Saturday night for the Amazing Fantasy Football crew. Let's just put it that way.
I would also like to put an entire giant caveat on this episode of that we are recording it last week and not this week. So if we
Fair.
so cross fingers and hope we're not going to World War.
Yes, let's hope not.
Very worried, very worried about that whole situation. But we're a fantasy football show, and we're here to distract not only ourselves, but you from the world's problems.
Amen.
We're talking about cheap tight ends, as we've been doing for the last 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, however many weeks.
And the last half
cheap tight ends, but I mean, this is mainly dynasty focused. But like I said last week about the wide receivers, you can take something away from this if you're just in redraft leagues too. I mean, if anything, there's some names to. There's a big name at the very end of this show. Very big name at the end of this show. That I think that maybe you could potentially get for quote cheap.
We'll see. Who you got?
Anyways, let's start with our first name here. Our first name, I'm living in the past on this, and on my first name here. And this is by no means in any order. It's just a list of names. And the fact that Cameron Brate is number one, and that Mr. Guest number 5 is probably the biggest name, one of the biggest names in fantasy football. Is number 5 on the list. Well, there we go. But Cameron Brate, he's the Tampa Bay tight end. He will be 31 soon. Yes, I know he's a Harvard graduate. No, he did not play with Ryan Fitzpatrick. But I know Cameron Brate's stats will not pop the eyes out of your head. But Gronk may be gone in Tampa Bay. O.J. Howard is an unrestricted free agent, leaving the Cameron Brate being actually the only tight end on roster. Well, of note on roster. He does have a 600-yard, 8-touchdown season. That was probably back in, I think it was like 2016. So it's been a while. A long ago. 6 years ago. Probably. That'd be about right. He's almost 31. So yeah, I mean, I think it was 2016.
Feels right.
He's not going to be an every week starter for you. Probably won't. But he has a potential, like that's his ceiling. Every week starter, but I mean like a low end one. Like, a tight end.
If you got that out of it, then you hit a home run. Yeah. If you got that out of it, then you should feel great. You should feel great. You should feel great about Brate if you got an every week starter.
I knew you were going there, and I'm like, okay, there it is.
It's too easy.
You said it, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
I couldn't resist. I'm only human.
What do you think about Cameron Brate, though? I mean, like,
I think it's reasonable to ask. Be like, like you said, their list is not in any particular order. So my guess would be you started the bargain basement.
Feel like your stable of tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the end of February, as we're recording this show, so it's like we're obviously speculating. I'd like to know more about his outcome or the outcome of this situation. Obviously, Brady's gone, but hey, I know a lot of people would like to throw out Winston's name. I don't think it happens. I don't think the coach Arians wants to touch Jameis Winston with a 10-foot pole, but if that were to happen, I mean, you immediately have to, and nothing happens in the draft at tight end, then yeah, you immediately have to put Brate in a tight end dart throw situation, as we like to talk about in the regular season. A guy that we think can start, a guy that we could use. You know, like you said, if you were to get an every week start out of this, you should do a happy dance. You know, otherwise you're given bargain basement price here. I mean, I don't think any Brate manager is going to be holding you hostage for Cameron Brate.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of
Yeah,
gatekeeping on
yeah.
Cameron
So
Brate.
I like it. I like it. I like it from a value perspective. I do.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the next guy. And by when I say guy, when I put that into like quotes and say it like that, I mean it's actually a couple of a couple of
An
tight
amalgamation.
Ends. They just happen to play for the same team.
There you go.
It sounds like guy. Like it's like, well, it could be a man, it could be a woman, or it could be a ferret. You know, like,
Let's not don't start a ferret at tight end. Just word of advice.
Yeah, they don't allow ferrets at tight end, but still. Anyways, it's really a hybrid position on my quote unquote list of tight ends for Chief is Harrison Bryant / Austin Hooper. David Njoku is going to be gone from. Let me rephrase that. David Njoku is going to be a free agent coming off his rookie deal. The Browns drafted it. The Browns spent a first round pick back on him back in, it seems like 20.
Wow.
It seems like forever ago, dude. Chris, just a quick side note. We're recording this on February 27th, 26th, whatever. February is the shortest month of the year. It has also been the longest month of the year as far as perception.
I could agree with that.
So weird. Anyways, back to Harrison Bryant and Austin Hooper here. Bryant's the guy that I'm targeting. He's the guy that I want out of this. But Austin Hooper is the guy that has the contract that the Browns really can't get out from under. Outside of a trade, and the trade stipulation is the other team takes on that contract as well. And Hooper's, I don't know, Hooper's just kind of a guy. Whereas Harrison Bryant, I mean, he hasn't done much yet in Cleveland, but he was made an All-American in college, and he did win the John Mackey Award. And for those of you who don't know what the John Mackey Award is, it is the best tight end in college, in all of college football. You know, it's probably a subjective popularity contest or whatever, but usually it's a real standout guy. And Harrison Bryant played in Florida Atlantic. So when when you have a guy in 2019 being the most standout tight end in all of college football in a quote smaller school, end quote,
Sure.
I mean, and Harrison Bryant, I thought he was if you remember last year, Chris,
Florida, to interject real quick, Florida Atlantic has made a little bit of a name for themselves in the last few years, several years, should I say, they're small. Yes, they're Conference USA, but there's been a couple players. But go ahead with your Harrison Bryant take, please.
Harrison Bryant is really good, and I think that you should try and trade for him.
I agree with you.
No, I'm making a joke. No, Harrison Bryant, like I said, was awarded the John Mackey Award for the quote best tight end in all of college. I already said that, but I'm just reiterating that fact that the Browns already having David Njoku and a guy that they hadn't quite acquired in Austin Hooper.
Yet still saw fit to
Harrison Bryant. I think that they were Njoku is just a swing and a miss for the Cleveland Browns. Then the Browns are a team like we covered last week with DPJ, that would be Donovan Peoples-Jones, is a team that really needs some playmakers, and Harrison Bryant / Austin Hooper, they could do that 11-man personnel, or that 11 personnel package, with the two tight ends. They could easily do that with those two, especially Harrison Bryant, who was in high school played I think it was right tackle. If memory serves, he played tackle in high school, and he was converted that in his senior year of high school, and that's why he was widely coveted going into college as a tight end. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm weaving a big old song narrative for Harrison Bryant, but the guy's good, like, or it has at least
absolutely.
some great potential, and he's hitting that. Like I already said, he's hitting that quote third year thing, and his tight end career.
I like it. No, absolutely. I think so far, and we're just a bit into the show, but I think he's the best value. Like, I don't think it's anything to sneeze at that he caught 65 passes for 1,004 yards and 7 touchdowns in this year that you're talking about, where he won the Mackey Award. That's impressive.
It's true.
For a four-year guy, so he came in knowing what to do in terms of catching, hopefully blocking. No, I like it. Deep dive, yeah, absolutely. Who you get? What else?
I don't know. I'm like, it's probably not as deep a dive as you think it's going to be, but
I think he'll be a darling as the offseason rolls on in Dynasty.
But that's what that. But I mean, like we said with the running back episode, like we said with the wide receiver episode, is that this is that's why we're doing these episodes now, and that's why we're calling them
strike while the iron's hot.
Is because before anything else plays out in the NFL, before the new season starts and the free agency starts and all of that rigmarole, is now is the time to pounce on these guys. If your dynasty league allows you to do so.
Absolutely. If you like the talent, like the talent, and you got a third or fourth round.
Also, if you're just in a straight keeper league, maybe these are some guys who you're like, well, like blah blah blah. Like,
point.
I mean, like we had a long running keeper league, and it was not a dynasty league, but I mean, like some keeper leagues it was a great way to dynasty leagues, like where like we were only keeping 1 or 2 players, whereas some keeper leagues are like you're keeping like 5 or 6 players.
It starts to become more of a hybrid between dynasty and keeper.
That's what I just said. But
that gets a little convoluted. Yeah. But no, I do miss the keeper league. But hey,
we got 2 more names. We got 2 more names on our list, and then we're gonna go to honorable mentions, Chris. Our penultimate name here is Brevin Jordan, and here's a guy that I kind of like a lot. He was just a rookie last year.
Me too. Yeah.
But he was a rookie on a Titans offense that was really kind of lackluster in playmakers outside of Brandon Cooks.
Texans. You said Texans.
I did say Titans. I meant Texans. Sorry. Anyways, Brevin Jordan, he only played in 8 games last year. But he still managed to have a 9.8 game, an 11.6 game, and a 10.6 game as well. That's granted, that's only 3 games, and that's not that great. But considering how bad the tight end has been for the last couple of years, and that you have a success rate of 3 out of 8 games that you played, that's roughly a third of them were very fantasy relevant.
Hey, they still had Atkins
for the tight end position. Granted, it's half PPR, but still, that was also with Tyrod Taylor and a very green, as in rookie, Davis Mills.
And
new turkey neck of the league, by the way.
Yeah, and Jordan only started 2 of those 9 games because he had Atkins in his way. Jordan Atkins is the veteran incumbent. So, no, to catch 3 touchdowns out of 2 games started. Okay, yeah, now I'm listening. Like you said, and you took it from the fantasy point angle. 3 viable fantasy games is what you had, right? Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, those were of like over 9 points too. Like, like
that's gold.
You were probably not starting him in probably any of those games anyways because he's a rookie tight end. But like, this is a guy you could. I don't know. Do you think you'd get him for a 4th? I don't even know if you're getting him for a 4th.
He had some injury stuff.
Maybe a late 3rd.
He had some injury stuff in college too, apparently.
And he also had some injury stuff going into this year too.
Exactly. So. In fact, that's what the point I was going to make is that's why he fell in the actual NFL
what you're saying
draft.
that's a selling point to drive his price point down. Is that
exactly.
he is
Yeah. Because that's what drove his draft stock down in the actual NFL draft, and you can use that to drive his price down.
because he was a 5th-round pick in the actual NFL draft.
Yeah, exactly. Because he only ever played 9 games, and then 8 games. Now the 8 games in 2020 was probably COVID, if I had to guess.
But 9 is 2 games short. 9 is 2 games short.
Is it? I thought 12 was. I don't know how many.
It might be 12 now. I don't know anymore.
I don't know how many games the ACC plays annually minus a bowl. It's relevant to a certain point, but he played 9 games, and 8 games respectively.
A bowl of what?
A bowl of Cocoa Puffs.
Ew. Chris, what's your favorite cereal, real quick?
Probably Cinnamon Life.
Interesting.
Mm. I don't have to add any sugar or anything. It's pretty sweet as it is, so there's that. I've run the cereal gamut when I was younger, for sure. I'm more inclined to skip.
I don't even know what my favorite cereal is anymore. I don't even remember the last time I actually had
Cookie Crisp?
cereal.
Do you remember Cookie Crisp? Did you like Cookie Crisp?
Dude, I remember all these cereals. Like, I love cereal,
Cookie Crisp
I
is
mean,
good.
I've been kind of in a not necessarily an anti-breakfast, but just kind of an anti.
I love eggs.
I love sausage, usually outside of my weekends, I kind of fast all day long, and even sometimes on the weekends.
Yep, that's me.
I don't even remember the last time I had cereal. I don't remember the last time I had real milk.
Let me put it this way: the last time I probably had cereal was as a midnight snack. I'm not a big breakfast guy. Now, if you're gonna make me sausage and eggs and yada yada, yeah, let's go. If it's 10, yeah, let's go. If it's 9, 8, whatever. But generally, I'm not gonna eat before 10 or 11 a.m. Just not gonna happen.
Yeah, man,
just not gonna happen. It's not my thing, and
I literally cannot remember the last time
kept my weight down.
Had cereal.
So it helps.
Anyways, we're still talking about Brevin Jordan here.
Oh, when I drink alcohol all day. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But yeah, I mean, like, he's like, yeah, there's Jordan Atkins there, kind of. I think, man,
I don't know where Atkins is with contract. I assume Jordan is the incumbent. I'm sorry, not the incumbent, the opposite of the incumbent. I assume he's the guy they want to take over. He's the younger guy. I mean, we're talking about tight end. It's not like you spend a ton of NFL draft capital. Like, what would you say? He was a fourth round, fifth round?
Brevin Jordan was an actual NFL 5th-round pick, and that was because of some injury and something else. Can't remember what.
He's the kind of guy I would like to go get for cheap, yeah, and put him behind my,
Brevin Jordan is a guy that I would love to get, and I
would love for him to be my tight end 2 or 3.
Jordan Atkins is an unrestricted free agent going into this year.
There you go. He's as good as gone. He's a veteran. He's too old. They're not going to pay him.
I mean, he was on a rookie deal. Didn't really do much.
I mean, unless he gives a hometown discount and a 1-year deal, why would you do it if you're the Texans? If
there's a slew of tight ends like that, though.
Brevin Jordan can block, if Brevin Jordan can't block to save his life, then this is a moot point, and we're talking about a boring answer in Jordan Atkins, and he may not be fantasy viable. It is what it is. We want Brevin Jordan for his pass catching, and he's a well-built enough guy at 6'3", 245 to block. Mm-hmm. And I don't recall him being called a bad blocker, so I assume he can get the job done. So let's.
6'3", 245 is like 2 inches. Like to put that into context it's about like 2 inches and
and we're talking about your tight end
less than like a Gronk or.
And we're talking about your tight end 3, and what are you giving up? A third or a fourth for Brevin Jordan? Yeah. But take a stab. That's what you got to do. You got to throw darts behind your.
I believe he was a 4th-round pick. No, and I have that in my notes right there. He was a 4th-round pick in our Dynasty rookie draft last year. Yep. So,
in fact, you've given me some guys tonight in this show to maybe go target behind.
But I'm not done yet. I have some honorable mentions, and one of them is or a couple of them are your darlings, and one of them is my darling. Can we move on to some honorable mentions, and maybe you can chime in on a couple of them? Obviously, one of the honorable mentions is your boy Adam Troutman.
Adam Troutman. Yeah. I mean, a
I,
lot of
I
questions at quarterback.
actually don't have it written down here, like virtually on my virtual piece of paper here. Actually, aka the Word document. But I figured I'd at least bring him up. Cole Kmet is obviously mine. I threw him in the honorable mentions because I've talked about him at nauseum, and he was actually
Hey,
had some.
you get a sophomore. You get a sophomore Justin Fields, man.
A sophomore Justin Fields
There's a lot of
and
possibilities there. Yeah,
and would be a quote junior year Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
yeah. No, I was saying sophomore for the quarterback for sure. Just like maybe
If
maybe
you're
they get
using
a
high school
connection.
years as a terminology, then it's a sophomore Justin Fields and a quote junior year
Kmet.
end quote.
Going back to the third end tight end thing. Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
so my next guy on the list, honorable mention. I think that you'll like a lot of these guys. And there's only 3 of them, but Gerald Everett. He recently just finished a stint, a 1-year deal with the Seahawks. I don't know. I want to say that the Seahawks are going to retain Gerald Everett.
Think so? I mean,
Probably on about the same deal. I just like it was. I feel like it was a lost year for the entire Seahawks organization.
yeah.
It was just. I don't know. I don't know what that franchise is doing.
I'd like to know Russell Wilson is there, but I don't know that.
I think he is.
Contractually, he's there. Let's be upfront, right?
No, I think he's there long term. I just don't understand.
No, I'm just saying it's not like he's a free.
General.
It's not like he's a free agent, is what I'm saying. But there's a lot of talk about him wanting to jump ship.
I think that's.
So we'll see.
I don't think that's a thing anymore. But okay, Tyler Higby, as of this year, was tight end for the Rams. I think they re-signed him actually. I think, or they extended him. Or something.
He's the current Rams tight end, the one I like to get confused during the regular season. He's the one I like a bit more because his targets were respectable.
He got injured this past year too, and that's why one of the reasons why he's on the list. Once again, one of those things like last week, and even with the running backs is sometimes when there's blood in the water, as far as like an injury to a player, sometimes your dynasty managers or even your keeper league managers or whatever will forget about a player like that because it's just like, well, what have you done for me lately, sort of thing. Gerald Everett at times had that thing. Cole Kmet, obviously, you might not be getting him as a cheap guy because he's more of a futures, like potential upside sort of guy. But Higby, I mean, man, I remember in 2020 when we were like sitting there like, are we watching this guy like level up and everything? Like the guy has potential, and so does Everett. Like at one point, there were 2 tight ends on the same Rams roster.
Same team. Yeah.
Everybody
was in love with Everett, the younger guy coming in, but Higby was only a year or so old, meaning in the league. He'd only been there a year or so. And
I was gonna say, I'm like, he was only a year or 2 old.
No, yeah.
I mean, that's an infant.
And
fast forward 18 years, he must be a man.
They like Higby. They like Higby in LA. Let's just put it that way. For sure.
I think the Higby Everett thing was Everett was
the young athlete brought in.
I think he was like your contract's up and let me look at this real quick. I'm not going to. One just for the sake of the brevity of this episode. One last name on my honorable mentions, and maybe you have another one after this. Hayden Hurst. And I put Hayden Hurst on there because I think he's still under contract with the Falcons going into the 2022 season. And I understand this is a bit of narrative, bit of narrative that may or may not be true. But I wonder if the Falcons get rid of Calvin Ridley and then make Kyle Pitts a more or less outside wide receiver,
the number one passing option.
Thus making Hayden Hurst the tight end position, which Matt Ryan has a very long history of using. Yes, he has history of not using it too, but
Mhm.
still, the Falcons also.
I got one. I got one when you're done.
You got one?
Yeah, I know it's ugly.
Is it Blake Jarwin?
That was my second one.
Oh,
Or should I say that was my first one before I found this one?
I almost
So,
threw Jarwin
okay,
on here, but I was like, nah, Chris is going to bring that up.
to completely rephrase what I said, I have two names. Blake Jarwin, just because, like, okay, I'm not going to be the guy. I'm not going to be the Dallas fan. I'm not going to be the Dalton Schultz dynasty manager to say that I think Jarwin takes the job. But technically, he was the guy they gave the money to. And I think Schultz, is he up? I think Schultz is Schultz a free agent? No, call me crazy. So he is. That's why I'm bringing this up. So but he showed something. However, depending on the value that you put into the tight end position in terms of an NFL franchise paying them, Jarwin's the one under contract. And if you put Jarwin's athletic profile in there next to Schultz, he's the better athlete. He's the better downfield threat. Schultz played great. Let's just call it what it is.
Dallas could get out of Jarwin's contract right now for about, it looks like around $2 million.
They could move on easily, but it's not like
they're bringing. Even the cap hit is 5.8, so that's pretty cheap NFL terms.
But it's not like we think. Let me finish. It's not like we think they're bringing a rookie.
$5.8 million. It is more money than you and I will ever make combined.
I'm sorry. The cap hit for getting rid of Jarwin was 5.8.
His cap hit in 2022.
Oh, well, I don't know if that equates to his dead money necessarily. Anyway,
his dead cap is $2
million.
Yeah.
Fine. So yeah, you probably keep him. And furthermore, I don't think we believe they're bringing in a rookie to start in this offense. I think they want a tight end. I think they want a tight end to catch fucking 60 balls. My bad. That's probably editable.
You can edit that shit out yourself.
So the other name I wanted to mention was Mike Gesicki. I know, sour taste. I know. But
I never went to my big name. But here is the thing about Gesicki. He's young enough. He is I think, an unrestricted free agent, actually.
Depending how you look at it, that could
sweeten the pot. Putting him on my list, but I decided to go really bold with my last name.
Okay, well, let me finish with Gesicki real quick. I didn't quite understand that he might be gone if he's unrestricted.
Unrestricted.
They probably don't re-sign him, let's be honest. He's the tight end who didn't play necessarily great.
I think they need to look at what their offense is really going to be.
Yeah, my point was going to be that there was a lot of turmoil with the head coach and all that, and we know what's going on with Flores and them wanting him to lose games. My other point was that they're bringing in an offensive guy from San Francisco. Last I checked, San Francisco tight end was pretty involved in the game. So that's all I'm saying about Gesicki is, he obviously he's got the athletic profile and some potential.
He's an amazing athlete in college, man. Is he one of those he came John Mackey Award winners? Like,
he might have been, at Penn State.
He very well could be.
So again, depending on where he lands, maybe Dolphins decide to pony up and retain him. And hey, the coaching staff change. Guy from San Francisco. I'm sorry,
Isn't it John McDaniel?
John McDaniel? It's Mike McDaniel. I think. Oh, it's Mike McDaniel. I believe it's Mike McDaniel.
Mike.
Yeah, it's Mike. It's definitely Mike. I believe it's McDaniel. So anyway, the guy from offensive coordinator from San Francisco breathed some life into him. Hey, maybe you can get him for a song. You got one other guy?
I don't think Gesicki got it because I think T.J. Hawkinson did instead.
Yeah, I think I remember that year. I think I remember that draft. It was like, take your pick.
It was Fant, Hawkinson. No, because Gesicki's been around for long.
Oh, that's right. Fant and Hawkinson played together.
I think it was Andrews instead of Gesicki that year.
That won the Mackey Award?
Uh-huh.
Oh, Oklahoma. Okay.
Good job on that one.
I got my. Yeah, I usually remember that part.
No, you hit the nail on the head with
Yeah,
Mark
I know he
Andrews,
played.
Oklahoma.
I know
What?
he
Stop
played.
watching college
I think
football.
he played. I think
You're
he played with
making me look
Kyler.
bad.
I think he played with
Who won
Kyler.
it the year before that? Jake Butt, the bust tight end
Ohio
for the
State.
Denver Broncos.
Ohio State. Yep, I drafted him in Dynasty.
Butt was
Yep.
Michigan, by the way.
Ooh, good call. My bad. Ooh, dang it.
And I definitely remember that. I mean, dude, his name was Butt on the
Right.
back
No,
of the
you're right. It was
jersey.
Michigan. You're absolutely right. My bad. Anyway, you got another guy?
My last guy, you're gonna really not like this.
I hate
one
this. I hate
because
this
it
look on
is
your
cheap
face.
tight ends,
I hate
and
this
you're
look
gonna
on your
really
face.
not like this.
I
And
hate
he
this.
was the tight end too this year.
He's not a Colt. What? Gronk? No.
No.
Too high. Cheap.
Travis Kelce.
Cheap. Travis Kelce will not be cheap.
Listen, just listen. But here's my thing. I
shaking my head
I did
already.
some looking on this.
I'm gonna shake my head the whole time you talk.
No. And I absolutely knew you were going to do this. But and this is a big old but.
Yeah. Okay.
What if the guy in your league has a Mark Andrews sitting behind Travis Kelce, or a Kittle, or a like a younger tight end, and he wants to capitalize or get whatever he can.
Okay, define cheap
Travis
and get
Kelce,
whatever he can.
Just listen. Travis Kelce will be 33 in October. 33. Chris, that's younger than the both of us, but not that much younger than myself, and really not that much younger than you either.
Well, 33? That's a lot younger than me. Anyway,
I'm just saying. Anyways,
don't be nice. It's okay.
But I mean, do you think that Travis Kelce is going to be fantasy relevant that much longer? Answer that question.
As it pertains to a dynasty manager of Kelce, yes. Absolutely. Is he going to be fantasy viable next year? Yes. Then the answer to your question is yes. Because I want to win. And
what about 2 years from now?
Yeah, probably still. Beyond that, I start having my doubts, to answer your long-term question.
All right. Well, here's a completely scrap the cheap tight end thing, and here's a reason why you hang on to Travis Kelce then. How about that? How about we completely flip the script on this last guy?
Let me finish though.
I have a point I'm making it here.
Let me finish though. The give and take is, what are you going to give me for him? I mean, what's cheap? What's a good deal? What's a bad deal for the manager of Kelce?
Stephon Diggs in a second.
I'd take that right now. Yeah, I'd take that.
I think that's okay.
Yep.
I'm not a big Stephon Diggs guy.
I think that's contrary to the point I was making at the beginning of the conversation, is that they're the guy I'd like to deal him for something.
I think it's weird that you were immediately like,
I know.
Oh, shit, I just do that deal in a heartbeat. I'm like, really? I think I went too high then.
Well, I was thinking you were going to throw out a second by itself, and I was going to say no.
No.
So, and I thought a first was too rich to give up for Kelce at this point. So I do think.
Do you think so?
I do think he's getting older.
So
yes,
here's the thing.
But...
Here's a counterpoint to my cheap tight ends argument.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I looked at what was one of the greatest tight ends, if not the best tight end ever. Tony Gonzalez.
Of course.
What did he do? He played really late into, like, as far as football terminology, played till he was 37. Right?
Yep.
He was very usable in his last 3 seasons as a tight end. Chris, you know what he did in his last 3 seasons?
Kelce?
No. Tony Gonzalez.
Oh, gosh. I mean, fantasy-wise or NFL-wise?
Age 35, 36, and 37
He's probably a top 5 fantasy tight end.
You know that he would have been a top 5 fantasy tight end this year?
Wow.
If he was...
Still playing, right?
So his
peers,
average.
yeah.
So his average over the past His past 5 years was at least 80 receptions, at least 80 yards,
Wow.
and
I'm sorry, 800
7
yards?
touchdowns.
800 yards, right? You said 80 yards.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yep.
He had at least 80 yards, 800. I'm sorry. He had at least 80 receptions, 80 yards, 800 yards, and 7 touchdowns.
That's awesome.
So he averaged 10.5 fantasy points per game in ages 35, 36, and 37. He would have been the tight end 5 last year.
I think ironically or unironically,
this is a counterpoint to do you remember like last year, like, no, I'm out on Travis Kelce, like there's gonna be a down.
We also had a little bit of
Kittle. This guy, like Travis Kelce, has missed literally 4 games in the last 6 years. 4 games.
If he's still playing and he's still the starter and he's still got Mahomes and Hill on the outside, yeah, I don't understand why you would move him. Let me put it that way. Right? There's no reason.
Counter argument. Counter argument. Or if you have Kelce and you have a decent tight end to back him up, sell him high. As high as you possibly can.
Yeah, that's fair too. I like that take. I like the fact that it's kind of again, it's where does the rubber meet the road? If somebody's going to pony up and give you a first, for goodness sakes, even
obviously Tony Gonzalez is one of if not the greatest tight end ever.
I think he's the greatest ever, and I'm a Witten fan, and I was going to make a quick Witten reference, not in regards to being better, but just let me finish real quick. I think the correlation between Kelce and
did Witten play till he was 38?
No, not quite. Surely 35 though. I don't know that answer off the top of my head.
That's great, but don't call me Shirley.
But I was going to say the reference, the correlation between Kelce and Gonzalez, obviously, to Chiefs tight ends, but also to athletic tight ends. Witten was not athletic, but I think the age comparison was astute in terms of comparing Witten also, because Witten didn't win with athleticism ever, really, in his career, even when he was younger. And I think you could say that about Kelce, is come far enough away from his athleticism at this point in his career he's going to continue to get open, whether he loses 1 or 1.5 steps, like Gonzalez, right? That's what I'm saying. I think he can stay. Yeah, I appreciate it. I think I was going to make the reference about Kelce, just go down with the ship. I think he's the type of player you probably just. I mean, unless you're just going to knock my socks off in a year that you think you can win it all, and you're like, here's a Pirates booty for Travis Kelce, then sure. Yes, I'll move. I'll move in his last 2 or 3 years. Yeah, of what I believe to be his last 2 or 3 productive years. Again, he's 30. He's 33, Josh. You said
he
he's
only
33?
missed a game last year because of COVID, and you could tell. And there was, like, leading up to that week that he missed, maybe it was 2. The way it timed itself out. He was that second week, if it was 2 weeks, that second week, he was trying hard to get back in. Like, I don't know. The guy's a gamer. They call him Zeus for a reason. Like, he looks like a Greek god, blah, 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 blah.
Hey,
blah,
speaking of us more or less agreeing on Gonzalez being the GOAT at tight end, it can end up being Kelce very easily.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a ring. He's got.
You know what's funny though? You know what's funny though is that Gronk is 5 months older and he's already retired once.
His numbers don't stack up in terms of yards and catches, but obviously touchdowns and Super Bowl rings.
Right. Well, I think Gronk needed that year off too.
Absolutely. I think he managed
his body right.
No, I completely agree. He managed I think he managed his body and his career very well at that point. And I think there'll be players to take note at different positions too.
Because he's only 33, so that would have been about 31 when Gronk retired.
I think people forget, because we talk so much about running backs getting injured, that I think tight end is the second most injured position in all of football on both sides of the ball. Now, I think if you start talking about both sides, you have to throw in linebacker, clearly, for the same reasons you throw in tight end. Middle of the field, big man, knees, hips, Ugh, man, Gronk was a big dude. Is a big dude, man. It just, yeah, it was inevitable. It was inevitable.
He's a big guy. I think Kelsey's actually a little bit bigger.
No. I think Gronk is every bit of 6'7" to 60.
Not according to stat.
Kelsey's more like 6'6", 6'5", and maybe still 260, but
I think
more like
Gronk was about 6'5", but he was,
nope.
and
I'm
maybe
going
it was like
6'7".
more current that he was a few pounds lighter.
I'm at me buying into a New England Patriots.
I'm not gonna look it up now either.
Neither am I. I'm gonna go 6'7", 260.
Hey, Chris.
Yep.
Hey, you're probably a little bit lighter than you think you are, or a little bit heavier than you think you are. But also, we've been amazing fantasy football. I am Josh. That guy over there is Chris. If you have some comments to make, please leave them in the comment section of our YouTube channel. You can like, share, subscribe. I always appreciate that. Chris, he appreciates the comments over the subs. I appreciate the subs over the comments. But hey, we're two sides of the same coin. That makes us the amazing fantasy football coin. And you can flip that coin and check us out on the in podcasts wherever podcasts are available. And we're recording this a week in advance. So if the world goes to crap, I'm sorry. It's not our fault. And by our fault, I mean it's not my fault. So, have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone. If the world goes crap, I'm going to get drafted before Chris because he's old AF.
Nobody wants me in the army. Good night, everybody. Stay safe.